Hey everyone. So, one of our viewers actually posted this Substack article on the Discord server. And it's titled, Canada isn't just angry, they're heartbroken, and every American should know why. And this article kind of resonated with me because a couple of videos ago, I talked about friends. Friend number one, friend number two. Friend number one is the one that will help you only if you get something out of it. Friend number two will drop everything and just help you regardless. Unfortunately, the United States is friend number one. And if you're a US citizen, you're hearing this and it hurts. Unfortunately, it is the truth. It might not be you specifically, but it is your country and a lot of your fellow citizens. So in this video, I'm going to go over this article that was created by a Substack page called American Pulse, and I think the person's name is George Froelich. Froelich, yeah. I know many Canadians and some US citizens will agree with this article, so you're going to want to stick around and listen in when I read this article to you. And if this is the first time you're on my channel and you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective, make sure you hit that subscribe button below, that way you're notified of my future videos. Oh, and if this is your first time on my channel and you hear a cat, it's mine, so don't go searching around your house for yours. Alright, let's get started on this article that's titled, Canada isn't just angry, they're heartbroken, and every American should know why. Alright, I'm going to read the whole thing out to you because it's very important for everyone to hear. The friends you thought you knew. For most of living memory, Canadians were America's most loyal friend on the planet. Not allies in the diplomatic sense, though they were that too, showing up in Korea, the Gulf, Afghanistan without hesitation, but friends in the way that they actually mean something. The kind who share your border, your hockey rivalries, your music, your TV shows, your family reunions split across two sides of a line that never really felt like a line at all. Canadians didn't just tolerate America, they loved America. They defended it at the dinner tables when Europeans criticized it. They crossed the border for concerts, for shopping, for weekends that blurred into each other. Millions of Canadian families have American cousins. Millions of American families have Canadian ones. That relationship, quiet, assumed, taken for granted on both sides, is now fractured in real time. And almost no one in American legacy media is telling you. Now, I don't agree with the part where he says take it for granted on both sides. Because at least for me, as one single Canadian, I did actually appreciate the United States relationship. To the point where I was actually happy to spend my money in their economy. All the trips that we would take down there, the road trips, the weekend trips, I didn't think anything of it. But if you flip it around, the United States has definitely taken Canada for granted. And I think what's disappointing most to Canadians, at least for me, is when you see the US media, or even people from the United States, not even acknowledging what the friendship was. I mean, you get idiots like this commenting in my videos, saying no one cares, F off Canada. Good, less pushy foreigners and crowds, stay in your own countries. US needs nothing from Canada. I do not recognize Canada as a sovereign nation at all. Yes, these are our next door neighbors, the ones that we used to be friends with, and a country that we used to support. I mean, these are just comments from random idiots in the United States, who probably can't even find Canada on a map. But it's not just them, it's also their media as well, and how they're portraying Canada and thinking that we're just going to come back like always.
Brad Mosshart is also a longtime Kennebunk business owner. He runs F8 Photography Studio just down the road on Spring Street. He says he has lots of clients that are Canadian, and he's heard from plenty that they will continue to come.
It's just kind of a little bit, there's a hype out there, but I don't think it's going to really matter.
That was last year when shit really started hitting the fan. To me, it tells me this photography shop owner really doesn't take it seriously, nor does he understand what Canada's actually going through, or what his country's doing to Canada. Then you got this report out of Portland, Oregon.
Groups like First Nature Tours are urging Canadians to embrace our natural resources and not be afraid to admit they like Oregon.
Not be afraid to admit that we like Oregon. Just that statement alone makes me want to never go to Oregon again. And if you're not sure why I said that, it's because of the arrogant and ignorant tone. Like we have to admit, okay, we're wrong and we're going to come back to your city. But there is one thing I'm not afraid to admit, is that I'll probably never go to Oregon again. Just because of that one statement. Yeah, I'm bitter like that. But I also know there's plenty of other places around the world that will accept us and actually appreciate us. But one thing we've learned over the past 14 months, well, I guess 15 months now, is how little they actually know about the big country above them, the one that they share the longest border in the world with.
Our Canadian friends are from Saskatchewan or Saskatchewan or something. I can't even pronounce these things. All I know is it's so cold there, I will never visit except for maybe that weekend that they call summer, like in July.
I don't even know what to say about this guy. But unfortunately, there's millions more like him. And I think this last 14 months has been a real big wake-up call for a lot of Canadians. Getting back to the article, the second section is titled, What's Actually Happening Up There? Since the Orange Guy's tariff announcement and repeated annexation threats, something has shifted in Canada that goes far beyond the political anger. It's become personal. Canadians who spent decades buying American products are leaving them on the shelves, not as a government mandate, but as a spontaneous grassroots rejection. Grocery stores across the country are reporting surges in demand for Canadian-made alternatives. American-made brands that once dominated Canadian shelves are watching sales collapse. Buy Canadian isn't a campaign, it's a cultural movement. Now this next paragraph actually resonates with me a lot. The most striking part is being led by Canadians who liked America the most, the ones who vacation in Florida every winter, who watched the Super Bowl, who argued with their friends that Americans were misunderstood. Those are the people leading the pullback. When you lose your defenders, you lose something that no trade deal can buy back. Now, I know a lot of the viewers right now may have disliked the United States for decades, because I have had plenty of people tell me, hey, GTL, you finally opened your eyes. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I mean, my life has always been integrated with the United States. Whether it's the tourist attractions, my friends, family, it's just something that was part of me. Which is why this betrayal hurts so much, and it causes a lot of anger in everybody. Some might say that I'm helping to lead the pullback. Maybe I am. I mean, I just started a YouTube channel out of nowhere. But why did I actually start it? If you dig down to the root reason, it's because of the betrayal. And the months following the orange guy taking the office, I really started to realize this quote-unquote friend, or this allied country that I used to be so close and attached to, was never that close or a friend to begin with. And as the weeks and months went by last year, the realization of this quote-unquote friendship, it changed from disappointment to anger. And I then realized that the United States as a country was like friend number one. Now, if you don't understand what I mean by friend number one and you didn't watch my last video rant, let me play it again. Washington State, Montana, Minnesota, New York, Maine, and the other ones I forget. We hear from all of them that we are their friends, and they are our friends. But what is a friend? And let me explain it on a personal level. A friend is someone that you can depend on, someone you can trust, someone that will be there for you in an emergency. Back in the early 2000s, I got into a really bad car accident, and my lower back is still killing because of it. Long story short, I was going through an intersection and a car was turning left, and it was a head-on collision. My car wasn't drivable and they took me to Surrey Memorial, which is actually very far from where I used to live. Obviously, I had no way to get home, so I called two friends. Friend number one, I called him and said, hey, I'm in trouble right now, and I need your help. I need a ride home. What was his response? Will you pay for my gas? Because otherwise it's a little bit too far for me. And that conversation didn't last very long. Friend number two, I called him up and said the same thing. Hey, I need your help. I'm in a bit of an emergency right now. I need a ride home. His response? Which hospital and where and what's the address? I'll be there in 45 minutes. And that was it. I even offered to pay for dinner on the way home or, give him some money for gas and he said no. To me, that is the definition of a friend. Someone who is willing to go out of their way to help you. Not number one. And how I see the United States right now is like friend number one. They will not help you unless they benefit in some way. And ironically, a couple months after the incident, friend number one calls me and says, hey, I need a few more sales to meet my quota for this month. Can you buy this? And I said, hey, when I needed help and it was an actual emergency, where were you? And he says, well, you got home eventually, right? At that point there, I told him to fuck off and never call me again. So that is why I consider the United States like friend number one. If we compare it to my story, where friend number one needed a few more sales to reach his quota, I compare that to every US border state right now that is begging for our money. And my response to every US border state is the same thing I told friend number one. And since we're on this topic about friendship and why we're angry, I actually saw this comment in one of my videos. Let me read it out to you. I have been on board with all of this. Boycott US imported goods, not traveling to the USA, GTO invites users to respond, and I have no idea how nasty some replies are. I don't see them. But GTO throws the word hater around, and I think I'm in that category, for not towing the line. I understand that GTO has his personal issue. He lived for years ignoring the border, enjoying Washington State, Las Vegas, Hawaii, often repeatedly, spending more of his discretionary income than average Canadians, except for snowbird retirees. Nothing makes you holier though than a troubled conscience. I find GTO has anger issues that are not about tariffs or Trump's rhetoric. He's getting back at some guy at Blaine who left a note on his car decades ago. From Malaysia, he's faithfully boycotting Ambassador Bridge in Windsor. And then Carla writes, piss off. Thank you, Carla. Well, number one thing, Don O'Fon, or whatever the fuck your name is. You have absolutely no idea what my finances are. You have absolutely no idea what my spending is. And you also have absolutely no idea how much I've worked my ass off to get to where I am. Especially when witnessing your own family losing everything. And starting from the ground up. Witnessing that in my early teens, I told myself I never want to go through that, and I never want my family to go through that again. I'm far from being wealthy, but I want to enjoy life. And it sounds like you're blaming others for your failures in life. But the guy who left a note on my car in Blaine saying go back to fucking Canada? My channel isn't about him. He's just supporting evidence of what's wrong with the United States right now. And as for having a troubled conscience, I don't think so. I think I actually have a clear conscience these days. Because I'm not going to let the United States take us for granted anymore. and I think a lot of other Canadians feel the same way. And as for me being in Malaysia, I seem to be doing a lot more than you are, and I'm halfway around the world. Every Canadian has the right to be pissed off right now, and to be honest, I consider myself pretty reserved compared to others. But a comment like this, I think you need to check your own life first. Now getting back to the article, the next section is titled, The Heartbreak Nobody is Covering. Here's what legacy media is missing entirely, because they're covering this as a policy story when it's actually a relationship story. Heartbreak doesn't look like rage. Rage is loud. Rage makes news. Heartbreak is quiet. It's a Canadian family that used to drive to Buffalo for a long weekend, deciding to go to Montreal instead, and not making a big deal out of it. It's a Canadian business owner who used to default to an American supplier, now making 3 calls to find a domestic one, and willing to pay more to do it. It's a Canadian university student who used to dream about careers in the United States, quietly updating that dream. Okay. None of that makes the headlines. All of it compounds. And here's what the Americans need to understand. Heartbroken friends don't come back the same way angry ones do. Angry people want resolution. They want to fight it out and move on. Heartbroken people just quietly reorganize their lives without you in them. That's what's happening in Canada right now. Quietly, decisively, at scale. So let me ask the viewers this. How many of you can relate to this? How many of you actually want a resolution? Or how many of you just want to move on without them? For me, I'm in the second category. I really don't want anything to do with them anymore. Everyone has their own personal story when it comes to the United States. And we can describe it in many words. Heartbroken, angry, disappointed, disgusted. There's probably like hundreds of different words you can use. But I think every Canadian and even international citizen at this point right now has a right to use any of these words right now. So to that idiot who left a comment in my video, if you're calling me troubled, then you're calling everybody else troubled as well. Now moving on to the last section of this article. What this means for you. This is the part legacy media definitely isn't covering. The US-Canada relationship isn't just sentimental. It's the largest bilateral trade relationship on earth. $3.6 billion cross that border every single day. Millions of American jobs in auto manufacturing, agriculture, energy, technology are woven directly into Canadian supply chains and Canadian consumers. When your best friend pulls back, you don't just lose the friendship. You lose the contractor who gave you a deal because he liked you, the neighbor who washed your house when you were away, the colleague who vouched for you in rooms you weren't in. That's what America's losing right now, and the bill hasn't come due yet. Now these are some of the comments that were in the article, and I'm going to read them out. The damage is permanent. I respect and admire many Americans, but I will never trust America again. I speak for a great many Canadians. Canada might forgive, but will never forget. Goodbye, America. We won't be back anytime soon. This is powerful, not just for the facts assembled, but for the pattern it reveals. Canada is my neighbor. I live in Washington State. They're our friends. This is all caused by him. Sad. No, it's not just him. There's 77 million other people in your country that is causing this. But there's even some on the left that are causing this as well. Like this woman right here.
And so when people stop coming to Maine, particularly from Canada, from the maritime provinces, they're not hurting Donald Trump. They're not hurting the powers that be in Washington. They're hurting their friends here in Maine, whose businesses thrive and depend on Canadian traffic. And that is disappointing. You're not sending a message to Washington, and you're only hurting your friends and potentially family members who live and work in Maine.
So like I said, it's not just caused by him. And unfortunately, many US citizens keep putting the sole blame on that one guy. And the last comment, as someone from the US, Canada is not punishing us. Canada is establishing appropriate boundaries. So this article really does cover an aspect that the US media and even Canadian media are not covering. It's the relationship side. And it's been something that I've been trying to revolve my channel around. And everybody around the world, not just Canadians, have a right to feel what they're feeling right now when it comes to the United States. And nobody in the world or the GTL community should be made to feel like they got a troubled conscience or it's their problem. Because it's not our problem. Alright, I've said my piece. And I would like to thank Vicky for this backdrop. And she took it while she was flying from Nova Scotia over to British Columbia. Not too sure whether it's going to be BC or Alberta, but it's definitely over the Rockies somewhere. But I do hope you have a great time in my home province of British Columbia. And one thing I do want to mention to the viewers is that Vicky and her family would have normally went to the United States, but she says she's happy to spend $7,000 in her own country. Just another example of Canadians supporting their own country and boycotting the United States. So thanks, Vicky, for the amazing photo. And if you need any recommendations on where to visit in the Lower Mainland, let me know. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today's video. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective, without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you're notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone, I'll catch you in the next one.